For class, we model everything that we do in a standard color palette. We're going to show you why we chose some of the colors we chose first, and then we're going to come back and recap a couple of things for you. We're going to show you we set the background color very specifically. We change an option there. We are going to recap the color modeling codes that we've chosen, and then we're going to show you how to reset all your graphics colors. And then finally, we'll end up with applying some of your own graphic colors for other reasons. We'll also point out here that we have additional videos that really detail coloring in a lot more depth. Here we're going to talk about the default color scheme we've chosen to model our parts in. Obviously, you can tell the block on the left is the color scheme we've chosen. This next block to the right, that's the default color of Catia. And these are just some other sample colors that we put out here so that we could explain why we chose the colors on the left. We're going to go to Sketcher, and we're going to sketch on this top plane. But before we start describing these colors, let's discuss the background color. The background color, let's go to Tools, Options. We'll show you where the background color is set. Background color is set here. Change the background color to anything you like. Wow, that's pretty annoying. Okay. The default background color is this dark blue. But by default, this graduated color background is on. And see how it's lighter at the bottom and darker at the top? We actually don't like that if you're doing a lot of modeling, because in this light background area, sometimes constraints and everything don't show up so well. So what we'd like you to do right off the bat is go to Tools, Options, and turn off graduated background color. And so now you have a nice even color in the background. Okay. Now let's go to Sketcher and let's sketch on a top surface, and we're going to show you why we've chosen this dark gray color instead of the default color of Catia to model our solids in. When you first start your first sketch in Catia, obviously you have no solid yet. You'd be sketching on the dark blue. And wow, everything shows up well here. See the little faint blue line that's coming across as I'm picking up constraints? See the blue lettering of my cursor? Wow, the blue lettering shows up hardly at all on this light brown. It shows up pretty well here on the green. Blue on blue doesn't work. Wow, blue on a very light gray doesn't show up. It shows up pretty well over here though. So now we'll kind of come across here and we'll come across all of them. Obviously the white line shows up pretty well across all of them, but then when we get the horizontal, it turns to blue. Blue on blue doesn't work. So it appears that either the green or the dark gray is going to be our color of choice. But there's another issue here. See this little H here that's a constraint. So let's do this. Let's go to each one of these colors and put a vertical constraint in. And I think what you're going to see is when I get over here to the green, green on green is not going to show up so well. So green's out, the light brown is out for reasons that it didn't show up other things. Blue is out because blue on blue doesn't work. So blues and greens are out because we have a lot of things in Catia that are blue and green in the constraint world. So we ended up with this dark gray. So now let's get out of Sketcher and let's discuss the coloring of some of the fillets and some of the other issues. Okay, I'm going to delete this sketch. Okay. So we chose this dark gray, and what is this dark gray? Well, right-click on any toolbar and turn on Graphic Properties. And that pulls up this Graphics Properties work toolbar. We'd like you to dock it up in the upper left-hand corner. That's where we keep it usually for our class. It allows you to quickly and easily color things. Like I could select Pad 1 and come up here and pick one of these colors. Okay? Or I could turn it back to its automatic color. Okay? So it would be nice if one of these colors here would be a great default color. But as you can see, the blue didn't work. None of the greens are going to work. None of the blues are going to work. Reds aren't going to work because that means over-constrained and other things in Catia. So there's really not a lot of choices here. So what we found is we have to take an extra step and go to the more, and then this gray right here is the gray that we've chosen as a really good color. And we do that and say, okay, that is this gray. Now, in addition to that, as being our base color, we've decided to color code our fillets based on the size of the fillets. Blue is a 5 millimeter, yellow is a 10 millimeter, and green is a 20 millimeter fillet. Okay. Now, luckily, coloring them becomes simple because you select the fillet in the tree, and then you just come down, and those colors, green, yellow, and blue, are on the very first drop-down palette. So you only have to go to more colors to get the gray for the initial. Usually we color our part body to be gray. Okay? And that is the reason why we've chosen the colors we've chosen. We like the brighter colors for the fillets because they show up and really let you know what you're doing as you're doing it. Okay, we're back. We're going to do a quick review of the background color and the standard modeling colors. Then we're going to show you a little bit about resetting all your graphics and applying your own graphics. Also point out that we have additional videos that explain coloring in a lot more detail. First, let's talk about your background. We go to Tools, Options, you pick the General and then the Display area, pick the Visualization tab, and turn off the option for graduated background color. This gives you a nice, even background that's a lot easier to see what you're drawing on. Also, for the standard modeling colors, we've chosen a gray that's under the More Colors options. And then we have specific colors we've chosen for specific size fillets. Well, you know, we don't, for this class, we don't use all different sizes of fillets. We have a couple of specific sizes we use throughout class to keep things simple for the class. We don't use a 5.03 millimeter fillet. We use a 5 millimeter, a 10 millimeter, and a 20 millimeter, and these are the colors we've chosen for those. So now let's take a look at a real Catia part here. Here's a real Catia part. Here's the coloring scheme we've chosen for it. Let's start a new part from scratch and show you how you would create and apply your own colors. Here's a new part. We'll go to Sketcher. Now, we could sketch on this sketch plane and start, but we have no solid here yet. Before we even start our part, we can actually come up to the part body and we can change its color right now before we even really have anything. Let's change it to that gray and say OK. Now when we go to Sketcher and we sketch our part, get out of Sketcher, make a pad, and we'll come out. Now I intentionally put a fillet in here. Well, that's not really a fillet, is it? If it's in Sketch, it's called a corner. So now let's put a fillet on here. Let's put a fillet here, and that is going to be a 20 millimeter fillet. Now, while it's still highlighted, we're going to come up here and we're going to turn it to green. Now we're going to put yellow fillets here. Those are 10 millimeter fillets. So we're going to pick our fillet icon, pick this edge and this edge, and we're going to go to 10, enter, and then while it's still highlighted, we're going to come up here, and since those are 10, those are going to be yellow. Then we're going to pick this face, pre-select it, we're going to go to fillet, and we're going to make this a 5 millimeter. Oops, not 55. There you go. Now that's a 5 millimeter fillet. Now let me show you the wrong way to color this. If I tap out, I'm pre-selected now, and normally I come up and color it. If I tap out and I go, oh, now I need to color that fillet. So I come and select my fillet and I color it to be blue. Well, it gets just that face. What you really needed to do was to pre-select the whole fillet now and change it to blue. So normally what you're doing is sometimes if it's hard to find it in the tree, sometimes what I do is I just come over here and double click my fillet and then say OK, And now it's all pre-selected again, and you go up and change it to blue. Okay. Now let's talk about resetting all the graphics on our part to be back to the default color of Catia. Let's go back to Catia here. Let's go back to this window. So here's our part, and we've modeled it this way for class, but now we perhaps want to change the color scheme to put it in a report or something. So we are going to select our part body here with a right click, part body object, and I'm going to select reset properties. Now, at first I'm going to turn off, this is the default, there is no apply to children. I'm going to say OK. And you'll see that it reset basically the part body. But all of our fillets have been individually colored. If we wanted to reset everything, we would right click on it and say reset properties, and then if we turn on this option or apply to children, then our entire part is reset to out of the box Catia. And now we could start applying whatever other colors we would like to do. Now let's talk about doing that. Okay, so let's maybe take the entire part body and color it a different color, say a blue. Now, let's say you're doing an instruction manual and you wanted to talk about selecting, say, this edge, this little fillet surface here. You might turn it to yellow instead of the entire fillet. So you can come back and reset your part body after modeling it. But I feel that coloring things as you're modeling is the easiest way to model things. And then if you want to change the color schemes later, it's very easy to do. So now we've talked about why we've chosen the standard colors. We've talked about setting the background to non-graduated, and we've talked about resetting the graphics properties and then how to apply all your own graphics properties.